All right, good evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you're tuning in from. And this is Gina B here with Mama D. We do have a few technical issues going on right now with our guest who is in Israel, and he is having camera issues. But his audio is playing, and that is the most important part: is to hear his story, to hear his answers to our questions and whatnot. I do have some pictures to put up, but I will play the intro video the way that I always do to tell you who our guest is, what he does, and his amazing life. Okay, so he will be with us in just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Fox Den. I am Gina B here with Mama D, and we have Gabriel Cousens M.D. with us today talking about his book Into the Nothing, a Spiritual Autobiography, which is about the wild, courageous, adventurous, mystical life that led to his spiritual liberation. This book, destined to be a spiritual classic, takes us through his unique process of spiritual awakening along several paths. The yogic way of life, including 7 years immersed in a globally traveling ashram, the Torah, most specifically the Kabbalistic and Essene teachings that are the most mystical aspects of Judaism, and the Native American tradition where he braved the extreme spiritual trials of initiation to becoming a Native American sun dancer, eagle dancer, and spirit dancer. All of these aided him on his quest into the nothing, where he experienced his conscious beyond the perceived restriction of mind and body, and the state where the true freedom lies. Today, the 77-year-old world-renowned holistic physician, spiritual mystic, rabbi, yogi, psychiatrist, family therapist, vital at any age advocate, humanitarian and peace ambassador, walks the planet in a state of eternal presence, seeing the emanating light from all things, and yet living in the very real world, where his good works and spiritual guidance changes lives daily. He lives, as he says, in the world between nothing, the world beyond time, and something, the temporal world, and experiences a fully integrated life in multiple dimensions. Happy, joyful, grateful, loving, and peaceful without any exterior reason, because that is the nature of the primordial consciousness. And his mission is to bring the holistic liberation way to anyone who wishes to experience this freedom for themselves. The Holistic Liberation Way includes Dr. Cousens' unique teachings of spiritual nutrition, the 6 foundations, and 7-fold peace. Among his myriad other works include Dr. Cousens' 13 internationally best-selling books, pioneering a natural way to cure type 2 diabetes in 21 days, becoming the most foremost spiritual professionals on the authentic rising of the Kundalini energy and the healing of the occasional imbalances resulting from Kundalini awakening, establishing humanitarian programs in 42 nations, and emerging as one of the world's leading proponents for a healthy, natural, vegan alive food diet. We welcome Dr. Gabriel Cousens to the Fox Den today to share his journey into the nothing. And here we all are. All right, that was a little
Hey
different
everyone.
because that video was a little bit too long to upload to, the direct link on StreamYard. So that was a little different, but you did get to see our amazing guest. Now, he truly has had an amazing life, and he is all those things. I have honestly never met anyone who has done so much and has such devotion than you, Gabriel.
Well, first of all, I want to thank both of you for having me on, and it was a really good introduction.
Oh
So
my
Well,
good.
well done. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. I kind of messed up a little bit at the end because I have had, and I'm hashtagging it, the cold from hell. And when I made the video, I almost went into a coughing spasm at the end. So there was a little kind of a little stutter here. I was like, oh, just kept going.
No, that was really good.
Oh, I thank you. I am so sorry that we can't see your face. But I do have things to put up. I did put in a few pictures of some of the things, that you have done here. Um, this picture,
I love the lightning in the background.
I know lightning is in the background of you in the circle and
Right.
the temple, and it's like amazing. And the book itself has so many amazing photos in there too of your life. But again, like I said, you have devoted seriously your entire life. There are people that, you know, maybe go to an ashram, maybe go and do, one or two things. You have done so many, it's beyond belief. And the lengths that you go to in order to achieve this oneness into, the connection and trying to experience the connection. The book was amazing, honest to God. And can I just tell you that I read it yesterday and finished it this morning, and I couldn't stop reading. I just couldn't stop reading. Well, I couldn't stop reading because the show was coming, but I couldn't stop reading it just because your life is so fascinating.
Well, I have to tell you, I do have a good time.
Did you?
That is the best answer to that ever. But like now you started out. Right, you're actually a walking miracle to begin with. I know I have a lot of questions to ask you, but you are a walking miracle. I mean, because you had such health issues at being born with health issues. So start with
Well, TB is a hard way to start. 1943, no cure,
right.
almost certain death. Thanks to my mom and dad, I survived.
I know, and your cutest baby picture in there too when you were 3 years old. Absolutely adorable. But you do. You have some fascinating, some photos, some courageous things that you've lived through, and losses that you've suffered too along the way. But now you, let's see. I don't even know where to begin with you, honest to God, because there's so many things. Like I want the audience to understand, where you were and how your journey went. Now you were raised Jewish, right? So is that
Yes. And I think the key thing, as you look at all the things I did, I never think that I'm doing something. I am literally just having a good time, driven and attracted to do it without an end point, without a goal, so to speak, an intention. But truly, I really enjoy doing everything I did. When I'm sun dancing, I'm having a good time. Other people may be suffering. I'm having a good time. And it's a different way of being. This stuff is fun for me.
okay? I gotta put this picture up here because this is you, right, and your wife, Shanti, and I do hope I pronounced that correctly. But
That is right. Shanti is peace.
oh,
Yeah.
she is beautiful, absolutely stunning woman. I mean, obviously inside and out.
Yes.
Um, because that emanates, and you can see it in her. But this photo that we're putting up here right now is a pipe ceremony. But now you did all these to become a sun dancer and the eagle dancer and all that. I had no idea what you had to go through in order to achieve those goals, and
Uh-huh.
and you did those. There were younger people, like you have to fast for so long. You had what was it with the pegs and the ropes and everything?
Well, basically, the tradition is that for the regular sun dancer, there's 4 days of sun dancing, and usually third or fourth day for an hour, they put a cut in each side of your chest and put a peg through and attach it to the tree, the Sundance tree, and then at the end you pull back and you break it.
Yeah, I know.
Ouch.
Big, big holes, bleeding, blood.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
the
It
size of your
hurts.
baby finger, the size of your baby finger. Yeah.
Ugh,
it still
that's
hurts.
big. That's big. That's
It took me forever to get my ears repaired. So it's just ow.
I
And
know.
now for the eagle dance, you wear that you so for the sun dance, you're in and out of the circle. Eagle ants, I stayed attached to the tree with the pegs to my chest for 4 days.
I know, and
So
it's
I
fast.
slept in the circle. But the truth is, again, not a masochist, but I really do was having a good time.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
you,
the way you have to look at everything. Is no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're going into, do it as and think of it as having a good time. Enjoy what you're doing, because that's the only way for me. That's the only way to get things done properly.
Absolutely. And then the lessons, every challenge we have, my approach is, okay, good. How do I use this to elevate me spiritually?
Hmm.
yeah, and you devoted your whole life to that. So you've fasted before, you've done these, you've been to the ashrams, you've done all these things, you've traveled everywhere, and I mean, so your body was used to this already before
Yeah.
getting there. So this
I
was one.
mean, I was, as you said, I was the oldest son dancer.
Right. Yeah. So that was later in life. So you had done all these other things first,
Right.
and then you went into the Native American aspect of everything later in life. Like you didn't even have your bar mitzvah until you were 44.
Correct.
What's the story behind that?
Well, the story is simple. They insisted that the classes had to be when we had football practice.
Yeah,
And the main spiritual thing in my life at that
just
age, 12,
football.
playing football.
Yep.
And if that's the thing that gave me the most spiritual elevation, I'm not going to give that up.
Now,
Yeah.
And they couldn't adjust to making the Hebrew classes at a different time or whatever. It's like, fine, I know what's important to me. I know what elevates me spiritually. And actually, that's what I said. And maybe later that will happen, as it did.
Right, and then becoming a rabbi too. So, I
Yeah.
mean, like the intro video said, you are so many things. You're
yeah.
so many things. It's
Yeah.
there are lots of titles and letters and things after your name. And you have
But the truth is, I'm none of those things.
you are
I'm
everything
just
and nothing.
enjoying the different explorations of life, but I don't identify it.
Yeah.
I don't identify as a sun dancer, eagle dancer, or as a rabbi. I mean, that's not who I am, and
Mhm.
that makes it a little bit easier in a way when
Yeah,
you think about that. It's like, oh, this is the play of life. I'm playing.
yeah,
I'm having a good time. I'm not taking. I mean, you can't do a Sundance without taking it seriously. You can't do a 40-day fast without taking it seriously.
yeah,
But it's a
40 days.
yeah.
yes.
I'd
40 days.
lose.
He
I'd
fasted
lose a
40
lot of
days.
tummy that way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. We need that, but he's got a fantastic diet that would help us both. To
Yeah.
Um, we will get into that. Now you did mention football player. You played football from the 8th grade through college and
Amherst
really well.
College.
Amherst College, right?
Yeah.
What did your parents think about you not doing your bar mitzvah? Because for the Jewish families that I do know, that's something that's very important and sacred. How did your parents feel about you choosing
Well,
football over?
they weren't jumping up and down with joy,
Yeah, I'm sure.
um, but they knew me well enough to know that I knew that that's what was important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did get what we call confirmed, which happens when you're second year in high school, that kind of thing.
Well, that's good.
Um, it wasn't that big a deal for them, also. I
Okay.
mean, yes, they would have liked it, but they also enjoyed going to the football games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's I love football. I'm a Patriots fan all the way, but I love football.
Eagles.
Eagles, okay. Well, I was Chicago Bears because I grew up in Chicago. So,
Yes, yes, yes. But so I mean, I understand, and you have learned the way the book is written is as because it isn't your autobiography. So as
right.
you're going through life and you're progressing through life, you have teachings, and you
Yeah.
say all the teachings and all the things that you've learned from every phase you have gone through, and you have gone through. I mean, you have friends. You were in a gang but like a spiritual gang that help people. You were, Black Panthers. I mean,
Nice.
the Flower Children. You've been through like every single thing you can
Yeah.
possibly imagine. Your life should be a lifetime movie.
But again, I was just having fun. I mean, when I was on the south side of Chicago, doing biochemistry research at the University of Chicago, at night I would work on the south side with black teen gangs, or one gang called the Valiant Lords. And the Blackstone Rangers were our neighbors. You may have heard about them. I mean, these are big gangs. 300, Valiant Lords was 300. They were like thousands. And I worked with them. And I played Malcolm X to them. I explained what was going on in a way that they really got it.
Yeah.
It really changed their lives. And also, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm playing basketball with them so because I'm obviously physical, so it's like we could bounce around and it was okay.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece. One of the lessons I learned from them is that they didn't expect to live past their early 20s.
I know.
Because they didn't really have an expectation of meaning in their life. Okay, or purpose. And they never felt they were going anywhere. So that leads to a life of desperation. And to the extent, I mean, we had talks about this, that they didn't really care whether they lived or died. In fact, nobody got killed for the 2 years I was working with them. The day I left, 8 people got killed.
Dang.
In a gang fight, But I gave them some meaning, and it taught me a lot about what's needed working in these situations. People need meaning and purpose. Meaning is kind of what life is about. Purpose is more of a goal. Without that, life becomes just an act of desperation. That's getting more and more true for people throughout the world.
Yep.
So it's like what I learned from them. I mean, they learned a lot, but what I learned from them is, wait, a life of desperation doesn't lead you anywhere. So in my work, going on from that, because I was just in the late teens when that time, that becomes the most important thing. How do you give people meaning and purpose in their life? And that's the key to getting people to come alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it just fascinates me. All right, now I'm going to start with my questions,
Sure.
legit questions. Okay, so about your book and your life and everything else, what is the holistic way of life that leads to spiritual liberation?
Okay, so one of the principles of that holistic way of life is that it's a way of life and not a technique. Just think about it. We're not talking about doing yoga as a practice or meditating as a practice. It's a weave of a way of life. And that's it. That's geared to help you wake up. That's geared to help you transcend your mind. That's the overall thing. Now, I talk about the 6 foundations as part of that. And one of the first pieces is you want to eat in a way to become a superconductor of the divine.
Yeah.
How did I get into that? Well, in 1975, when I received the spiritual awakening from Swami Muktananda and for the first time went into the nothing, when I came back down, a little voice rang out and said, you should learn to eat and live in a way that supports the Kundalini. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And so I began doing research both in India, back and forth, India and US, until I kind of discovered what was the best diet, which was a plant-based vegan diet that was, well, I was 100% live, but that was at least 80% live. And that best made everything work in your body. That's the key. Made your mind work better. Spiritual life takes a certain amount of strength.
Right.
To be able to sit and meditate, you have to have a certain strength. So this is what best supported it. And the other part of the diet is don't eat too much. So I actually just have one meal a day and a little bit of goji berries in the morning,
Wow.
and goji berries and cacao. And then at night, mostly I'll just drink, some tea or have a little soup or something, something very, very minimal. Uh, because the best time to eat is between 10 and 2. That's the time in Ayurveda.
Oh, oh, that must be you. Okay. Maybe that's your technical help calling.
Wouldn't turn off. Okay, I thought it was turned off. Okay.
Well, you were you expecting that call? Was that the woman that
No,
you?
no, not at all. When I do this, I try to turn everything off. Okay, so that's what I learned to eat is the best way. And the live food has a lot of energy. When you cook it, it loses its energy. And I kind of prove that by taking Korean photography and things like that. Uh, and eventually, over time, even in the ashram, people, you don't eat live food in India because it's got parasites and things like that. But over time, a lot of people began to move in that direction because it facilitates meditation and strength. And I'm going to just say that most people think, oh, you're a vegan, you're going to get weaker with age and thinner with age and so forth. But I'm regularly doing 1,200 push ups like 3 times a week.
Wow. I know he's in
Well,
fantastic shape. I wish we had you on camera. I really do because you are in fantastic shape. Again, I'm gonna put up this picture. This is an older picture, but you still look like this.
Yeah, I do still look like that.
Yeah. It is, what you're doing is absolutely working. And also the diet can cure, not mask, cure diabetes 20
Right.
21 days.
Yeah. So that story is kind of a funny story. Um, a person said they'd like to do a video on live food. And I said, well, that's kind of boring, is actually what I told them. Let's do something really challenging. Let's see how it affects diabetes. And we started working with people, and basically, after 3 weeks, 61% of the people had cured their diabetes, which is a blood sugar less than 100 on no medication, and sustained it as long as they kept the diet.
Wow.
So that was a pretty powerful experiment, and that was what the book is about. And I've been teaching that really in about 40 different countries. I've been lecturing on that because that takes us into a whole way of life.
Right.
And with the Native American world, diabetes maybe 90%. One of my friends, Dennis Banks, you may have heard of Dennis Banks.
yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Dennis and I got to be pretty friendly. He cured his diabetes with me, and he even let me lead a NEPI or sweat lodge, which is quite an honor in front of, for me to lead it while he sat in the lodge. That was a big deal. Okay.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt here. I have a
Sure.
question about a sweat lodge. This just sort of not everybody can conduct a sweat lodge. You have to go through a certain amount of training, don't you?
Yes, yes. And you have to be, if you're a 4-year sun dancer, you are trained during that process. So you are given permission. You can't just do it. No. Many, many, many NEPs, but 4 years qualifies you
Yeah.
Okay.
of the sun dance.
Because I had James Arthur Ray on, and he had done sweat lodges in the past, but he had done a sweat lodge where 3 people actually passed away.
Oh
Just
yeah, I heard about that. But I don't want to.
Training.
He
Yes.
wasn't a sun dancer. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
right.
he had no training because I asked.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we were learning, because we gather before a big sun dance,
Mhm.
the different Native American leaders would each take turns leading a lodge. Maybe there's 60 people, not all in one lodge. So maybe there's, a
Right.
bunch of lodges, a men's lodge, a women's lodge, and the different leaders would come. So you get exposure to how everybody does it, basically the same way, but their own variations.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really
Right.
certified. I mean, that's key. In all the lineages, there has to be some certification.
Mhm.
That's how I got certified, so to speak.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. I don't know how you could do these things. Like you've been in Arizona in that extreme heat. You've been in India in that extreme heat. I can't take heat.
Gina would melt.
I would die. I swear I really would. I would melt and I couldn't function. I would probably would, just melt into nothing completely and totally. And I can't. I can't handle the heat. I don't know how you can do it. You even you wrote at one point you were in such a state of bliss while in the sun. You actually, fell asleep in the sun and they had to come get you. you know,
I didn't fall asleep, but I went deep into meditation.
all right, deep. Well, okay.
I better be under an umbrella. I'm a redhead and I burn in 5 minutes, under 5 minutes.
Well,
So I better be under an
he's
umbrella. I enjoy the heat.
he's had some sunburns in the past when you and your
I'm
wife.
sure.
Was he your first wife? Your first wife, Nora, right? Where,
Yes.
yeah, you
Yeah.
were on the beach, and and you've done so many experiments with all kinds of things in order to get in touch. Now things that are not recommended for other people to try, because you are a medical doctor also, but not recommended for other people to try, like even actually inhaling carbon dioxide to pass out to get near death experiences. Um, now I mean, that's dangerous, but that's the
Well,
dedication
I
that
mean, in the context, with other medical doctors, sharing, not so dangerous. I
Mhm.
don't recommend it for people who aren't medical.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah, my point exactly. So you do these things, but you do them under supervision,
Yes,
trained. You know what I mean? The things are legitimately put into place in case something goes wrong. Um,
right.
but it does get you to that point, and the things that you have experienced. So what was it? What was it that you experienced when you were like at these near death encounters? Like what did you said that you were somewhere else. I mean, I know this because I kind of experienced it myself a bit, but I want you to explain your journey with that and what you saw.
Well, there are a few levels of it. So when we were doing this exploration, Dr. Sinella, uh, he's not alive anymore. Um, we were pushing the limit. So you would go literally into the white tunnel of light, and begin to ascend, just like they describe in the books. Okay, and each of us did it 3 times, and it was a different experience each time. But it was definitely what we call astral plane. There was a me, a form, light body. There was a tunnel. There were light beings at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
and you got certain energetics from them. Uh, that's that's what it was. It was okay, because when you look at and read about near-death experiences, it's people talking about moving in the astral plane into to higher planes.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
that's actually what we experienced. That's what I experienced.
Yeah.
It
And
wasn't an enlightened experience. It wasn't enlightenment. As I mentioned, into nothing, there is no form left. There's no you. There's only that. There's only the undifferentiated consciousness. And in the Torah tradition, it says you can't know God and live. And what that really means is to know God, to merge with God, you have to let go of your I-ness
Right.
and your I amness. And it's everything has to go, including any identification as being separate from God, or you can't merge.
Right. And that's the point that you, when you're saying too, now you're walking between planes, like you're on multi
Yes.
dimensions. I got a question. I thought about this, and this may be like a little crazy thought. Now you talk about dharma and karma and things like that, which I totally believe in. Um, Now what about like a reincarnation? So that's one first part. Okay, like past lives and many lives and whatnot. But what if there are if there is a space and time where there is no space and time? You know what I mean? That you're in that dimension. Can you reincarnate, say, from the present and reincarnate in the past? Do you know? Like, I'm just trying to think of things like prophets and things like that that have foreseen the future. I mean, are they actually from the future? Could they reincarnate in the past, or is it
Well,
always something that's
it's an important question you're asking. And I use the word eternal presence, eternal presence, in which you are simultaneously past, present, and future happening.
okay?
And that, in a sense, is the question because you're all of those things. You go beyond time or time limitations. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's like you kind of go into sci-fi mode, and you just think of the endless possibilities of what could be or what was, and
And the key in the consciousness is I'm explaining the eternal presence as you are all of that. You're not the future, you're not the past, you're not even the present. And people say that you're in the now. Well, that's true, but we're in the nowness. But we're also in the nowness of the past and the nowness of of the future, because time disappears. It's timeless in a sense. That's what I was describing there. That's what I call the eternal presence.
yeah,
And nothing is ever happening, and everything has already happened.
I
We enter into paradox. It's a paradox.
yeah, and this is like your quest, right? To to get to this point, to understand what it is.
Yeah. But the key is we're never going anywhere. And that's why it's not really a quest. I mean, that has a goal. I just enjoyed doing it. I was guided and driven to do these things, and I did it. I live with no holds barred.
Right.
It's called jumping into the unknown without any security blanket.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Ti- Totally. Um, but how would you, well, how would you describe though your spiritual path that other people can understand it?
It's a good question. So for me, it simply is following the divine will as it emanates in my life. So my will becomes aligned with the divine will. So I use the word several times, the silent voice of God. Now that's a paradoxical statement. But hey, when I was 4, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Now, how did I know that? Nobody in my family had been a doctor. That was totally weird. Okay. But I knew it and I followed it. And then I knew when it was time to start meditating. I knew when it was time to do whatever I did. It was something guiding me.
Hmm.
And so I used the silent, still voice of God. My point is, you want to listen to it.
Yeah,
I
trust
think
your gut.
everybody gets that voice.
Yeah, trust your
Everybody gets that guidance. I'm just willing to listen to it without any qualification.
gut. Yeah.
Now, I do want to make a little bit of point here. Because you can think, well, I hear voices that are telling me to do this or that. So I make a point of how do you check that out? First, is it aligned with the spiritual teachings for the last 10,000 years? Okay. Is it aligned with what your spiritual teacher or teachers are telling you? In alignment to their teaching? And is it in alignment with your own inner experience? Well, all three of those line up, and also your social group, so to speak, your spiritual group. When they all line up, then you know, hey, well, I'm not deluded. I'm in alignment because everybody's in agreement. And that way is a check and balance, which is important because it's easy to get out there. So there's nothing I did or do that isn't in alignment on all those levels. I think that's an important thing to get. So there's nothing kind of weird about it.
Yeah, in your eyes. I mean, just saying, because
Oh, of course, of
your
course.
life is not a normal life. I mean, that we are. For you, it's you go where you're guided, and you do trust um your guides, and everything that comes to you
Right.
wholeheartedly and without question. Now, a lot of us, we question all the time.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
and we get that. We get the gut instincts and the things, and the messages are coming. A lot of people block those messages or say, "Oh, that was just a dream. Oh, that was just this. Oh, that was just that."
Right.
They've been visited. Now, you've been visited by three distinct, um, I don't even know what to call them, entities, spirits.
Well, basically, Sai Baba of Shirdi, who left his body in 1918. And when I was in India, I spent a lot of time kind of being there, meditating by this huge fire. Like, okay, it's 110 degrees, and I'm 2 feet from this giant fire. And, people are thinking I'm, well, it's in India, they do puja. So everybody's putting things, flowers and this and me, but I'm just meditating. I'm just having a good time, kind of oblivious. But the point is, I was connected to, and am connected to Sai Baba of Shirdi. So one time I was walking with one of my two spiritual teachers, Swami Prakashananda, and we're walking near his place, and suddenly in front of me, Sai Baba of Shirdi materializes. Now, am I seeing things? Well, he doesn't just materialize, he puts his hand out, and energy comes out of his hand and initiates me. It kind of literally knocks me over.
Hmm.
Okay, so first thing I do is say, did you see that? And yes, and that was Sai Baba Shirdi who materialized. Now,
That's amazing.
so these beings who existed, they can materialize, and that also happened when I was doing my initiation into Israel, 2007. I found a little half cave. It was by the Dead Sea, and I meditated without food and water for 3 days in the Negev. Most people don't make it for a day. Okay,
I can't make it a morning.
but because it's a little hot in the desert too. And at night, one of the nights, I had a little fire going because there's kind of wild animals out there. Abraham materializes,
Mm.
okay, and passes on the energy of spiritual warriorship and of love, because he was like universal love. Now, I'm not calling forth these people, it's just happening.
Hmm.
This is really important distinction. I'm not doing any ceremony about that. Now, the third one was with Lakshmi. That's Vishnu's consort. She's like a divine being, and there's pictures. So I'm just did a fire ceremony early in the morning, as I do or had done, and suddenly she materializes, and she walks right there and literally semi-physically merges with me. on all the levels, not
Yeah,
just, not,
ultimate
including
feminine
self,
energy.
but heart and mind, and actually initiated me into the sacred feminine.
Yeah,
Like
Nice.
part of her is in me.
yeah. And you need that to be like the whole.
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is that these beings in the astral plane can materialize. They do. I gave three examples and give their gifts.
Yep.
She gave the gift. I mean, literally, I'm saying that part of her beingness, the sacred feminine, was implanted into me. Sai
Yeah.
Baba did a certain initiation. Abraham did a certain heart initiation.
Yeah.
So these beings and the great beings are there, and they can come at certain times. I never invoke them. I don't do any ceremonies, anything like that. It's not even in my mind. It just happens.
Hmm.
I think that's important.
I want to show you something. Um, I had done a guided meditation, and I think maybe you might be the only one in the world that might be able to answer this question for me. I did a guided meditation that I really like. I think the deepest I've ever gone into any kind of meditation ever. To find my, it was actually supposed to find my spirit guide, but I found my animal spirit guides, the foxes, which is the um, guardians of the realm line, between here and the next realm. And I went into this place. Like, I went to a cave. You're supposed to stay in the cave and wait for your guide to come to you. But I saw a little peck of light coming through the cave, and of course, I'm the overachiever, so I have to go out and and clear it away. And then I see a field, and I see all the foxes running in the field. So I went out into the field. Way off in the distance was this big, like an altar. There was something standing facing the opposite way. Now I see long hair, I see long robes. The thing turns and looks at me, and it had like it was this. I drew this, right? And it looked like a lion like almost face. Had, actually a scarf like thing on. It just looked at me. I knew that this being was something really high, like all knowing, like all powerful, like all, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be talking to this. I shouldn't be looking at this. And it just stared at me. And I mean, I would have loved to talk to it, but I just knew I shouldn't, and I just kind of backed off and went back into my cave. And, and as I'm going back into the cave, it turns around and there was a big book in front of it too. So it was like sitting there reading, or I don't know what. I don't know what, but it just looked at me and then turned back. But have you ever seen or know anything that like this ever? I mean, I remember this like a vivid movie playing in my head, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, when I saw it, I definitely felt a Native American energy.
Okay.
And my interpretation is that you were being initiated into the fox totem.
Okay. 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 I get chills now. I get chills now. But yeah, because the fox is so powerful, for me, and
Right. And it was initiation at that. That's a pretty deep level of the initiation because that was the spirit energy of the fox.
wow, that's pretty amazing. Thank you for that. Because seriously, I've asked so many people, and then after reading your book and just knowing where you are on your spiritual journey and path, I just thought you were the only one, honestly, that could answer that for me. So
Yes.
thank you so
You
much.
meant the spirit being behind the fox.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing when you allow these things to happen. What
Right.
actually happens, and people will be, like in disbelief of what can actually be.
But this is an important message that we're talking about is that my into nothing is this is a way of life people can tap into because it's available to everybody.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just have to be willing to jump into the nothing. You have to be willing to jump into the unknown. You have to be willing to be open to go into that field of foxes and look at what's behind that altar. It takes what I call spiritual courage.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good for you. That was very good. But this is the message in my book is all, well, there's several messages, but
There's a lot of messages.
one of the messages is God is laying out a path for us that's unique to us. And all we have to do is choose to follow it. And these messages keep occurring as we go along. It's literally laid out for us. Are we willing to play? That's the issue. As you said earlier, not everybody's willing to listen to that inner guidance.
Exactly, exactly.
So that's what we're talking about. And that's what the Fox totem is for you because you tune into that totem.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I'm just gonna put up a quick picture here. Now you have all these other books too. Plus you get to see your face a little bit. I wish we could really see your face as you're talking. But you have a lot of books, so you've written a lot of books too along the path and along the journey, and a lot about your the diet and how important the diet is. But now I want to, before I get into anything more about like the food and how that can get you kind of more in tune and aligned and whatnot. But when you were, I can't remember exactly where it was now. You were actually training somewhere, and you had kind of like a stigmatic like episode. Can you explain what that was? What how that?
Yeah. When I first received what we call Shaktipat, or the descent of grace that awakened the Kundalini, 1975 from Swami Muktananda, not only did I have visions and lots of experiences, but I literally, this red rash went up the back of my spine in a spiral.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I had stigmata on my palms of both hands.
That's
That lasted for about 10 days.
yeah, because I mean, I have never met anyone that has gone through anything like this or had that manifestation happen. And this is you've had other things as well. Where you talk about later in the book about the burning karma and what you physically went through with that as well. Like everything was going perfectly in your life, and then all of a sudden these issues started happening,
Right.
but it manifests in you physically. So even though we are, if we chose this path and we try and we work really hard to achieve all these things and do all the right things, doesn't mean anything bad is not going to happen to you. We are
Well,
still physical
let
beings.
me answer it this way: nothing bad ever happens. They're all opportunities to wake up spiritually.
Uh-huh.
That's the key. The world is as you see it, the world is as you choose it to be. So for me, if I have a brain bleed because I had a congenital defect, okay, and
Right.
it bursts and blood's coming into my head and I'm tasting blood and whatever, and they had to do surgery. I have a hole on top of my head, where they had to go in and tie off the artery because it was a congenital defect. And long story short, um, that was in a certain way the opening up of the crown chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I
Yeah.
couldn't be more
Yeah.
literally.
Exactly.
And I had that basically with all the chakras. So I just experienced the world a little bit in the physical plane as well. I guess that's the way I would say it. Um, and so, oh, wow, I had brain surgery. I had this, okay, but it was a tremendous opening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I just gotta back you up a little bit here too, because you had a hernia operation and this operation, both of which you did not have any kind of pain killers or anesthesia.
Right.
Meditation is what
Right.
you did.
Well,
Pain.
remember, I'm an explorer, whether we're trying things with carbon dioxide or whatever. I said, if I'm really meditating, it was a little challenge to myself. I said, if I'm really meditating, I shouldn't be able to feel anything.
Mm.
So
It's
I had
the
to,
I mean, full bore. You go. I mean, you're in 110%.
right.
You were
So
there.
I had to convince the surgeon to let it be. I did agree to they could put an IV in my arm just in case if that was their need. Um, and so I was in meditation, and I didn't feel a thing. Second hernia, same thing. So
Yeah.
we can do things, but we
Trust.
won't know unless you try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to
So
trust.
in yoga, there's 8 levels of the yogic thing. The fifth level, okay, pratyahara is where the senses are withdrawn. Okay, and that's where I went to. So the senses disappear. So you're at a state where there are no senses.
Wow.
And I was challenging myself. Well, if that's really true, let's try it out.
Yeah.
So I challenged myself a certain amount too.
Have you ever met anybody like this, Mama?
No, and I did a meditation so I could get a tattoo, and I was okay until they got close to the bone. Then I felt a vibration, but no pain. But the idea of doing a meditation to have the surgeries done, that kudos to you, because I'm allergic to pain, and I really would be like, can we pay bills? I don't want to take the chance. But it's yeah. But interesting, and I haven't had the chance to read the book because I just got it yesterday, but I definitely am going to read it, and don't be surprised if I email you with questions.
Okay, fine,
Yeah.
Mom.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, you do have like, all right, let me put up some things here. Okay, there are definitely ways. Okay, this is the way to get the book. www.intothenothingbbook.com. That is where to get the book. You have a Tree of Life community, and that is treeoflifecenterus.com.
Well, or another one. There's a few, but it's treeoflife.mn.co.
Yep, I have right here. treeoflife.mn.co.
So that's how people can access the community.
Right. And
Because right now in the world, people need support.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like, hey, how do I talk to like-minded people when the world's acting in a certain way? It's like I have to talk to somebody who understands me. So the community was created for that. And then there's also drcousins.com.
Yeah, so many ways, and you can go to the YouTube channel. Like I have a whole bunch of things going across the bottom right now. A ticket going around with Facebook, with YouTube, with Instagram. So you are all on the social media sites. So you're not hiding. Okay,
no,
people
No,
need to find him. Twitter, all the social medias. But go to the YouTube and watch him and watch Shanti too, in their videos, and you can see. I really do. I wish that your camera had worked for this. There's a reason. Who knows what it is?
yeah,
But
I've never
but
had that
but
before.
you
Right.
emanate, and you can see it in you.
This is.
Yes, maybe it's
I
music.
turned it off, but it doesn't want
Maybe it is her. Maybe it's his tech person calling.
Well, this is interesting.
I'm rocking out to the music. It's
Yeah,
good.
we just needed a little musical update there. This is right. We're all right.
My phone, which I thought was turned off, keeps turning itself back on. So I'm going to try real hard to turn it off again.
Well, there's a
Okay.
reason. There's a reason.
Reason for everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Power off. Safe mode. Let's see. I think it's off now.
Okay.
Don't count on it, but I think it's off.
We never count on anything here.
No, it's fine. Whatever it is, it's fine, and whatever it is, it's meant to be. Um, but now let me ask you this: what does it mean to be a wild, liberated mystic?
Yeah.
Well, in the process of liberation, you give up idea of limitations. Now, it doesn't mean you jump off buildings, or do things that are kind of dangerous. It means you're open to all possibilities. That's what it means.
Okay.
And wild is that. You're willing to jump into the unknown. You're willing to be open to all directions as a basically way of life. And clearly, as a mystic, you're always dwelling beyond normative reality.
Mm.
So my experience, I have my normative reality. I mean, I was captain of an undefeated football team, National Football Hall of Fame. That's normative reality, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And meditate, you go into other worlds. And so there are multiple levels of who we are.
That's
Now, I hate to say this, but I actually have to take a bathroom break.
okay.
Well, we'll go to commercial at the same time.
Okay, good.
Okay. The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan ghost boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. Hello everyone, I am Gina Bankston, proud host of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, airing every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch on my personal Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our many growing Anchor FM venues such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Spreaker, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and more as we grow. We are also doing occasional pop-up free mini reading shows and shows with special guests on other days and times. You never know when we're going to do a show. So go on over to the YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe and hit that notification button to never miss a show. Why am I making this video? Well, quite simply because I make all my own show ads and bio videos for my guests, and many of you have asked if I can do this for you as well. Well, the answer is yes, and I'm calling this P Fox Advertising. I can make you a banner, picture ad, or a video ad for you, your products, services, or events. Treat your guest special with a bio video ad if you're like me and doing your own podcast. Or if you're going to be a guest on a podcast and you want your own special opening video using your own voice or mine. You can also run your ad on the Fox Den. I can create the ad, or we can run your pre-made ad. You can also be a sponsor of the Fox Den. If you choose to run your ad on the Fox Den, for the shows you book, the ads will be seen and heard live on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our Anchor FM venues. Prices vary for content, duration, type, lengths of time, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Contact me, Gina B, at gbfoxinvestigates@gmail.com. Okay, and we're
back.
We're back! Yay! We all needed that little break.
Yeah.
That was good. All right, the first part of this interview, I have been just like a little starstruck as you come on, because there was so many things I was just wanting to talk to you about. But now getting back to like a little bit more of the book, and in the book you do go into 6 foundations and 7-fold peace. So you started talking about the 6 foundations,
right,
with the diet. Now, can you go more in depth on the 6 foundations?
Sure. So I designed them because I was trying to give a non-sectarian way of life that could lead to liberation. So these 6 foundations you can find in most spiritual paths in one way or another. So usually there's a diet. Usually it's at least vegan in most traditions. The second foundation is I love to do sacred dance. I love to be dancing, and pretty wildly, which is my style. And also yoga. I do yoga 6 days a week. My Shanti is a yoga teacher, a tree yoga teacher. So she was my teacher.
I wish I had captured that picture. I wish because you have a picture too in the book of you two doing couples yoga where you're on your back and your feet are up in the air and she's actually sitting on your feet.
In lotus, right?
Right. What a picture. Oh my gosh.
And then breathing exercise, what we call pranayama. The third is service and charity. That is really important for connecting your heart to those around. Now, you may have noted I have humanitarian programs and over 100 programs, the diabetes and a lot of things, Africa, Mexico, different places around the world. Yep. The fourth is working with a spiritual teacher. If you're ready, it's not that easy for people. You have to kind of go beyond your ego a little bit to work with a spiritual teacher. Well, I worked with Muktananda for 7 years, Prakashananda, Swami Prakashananda for 11 years. It's like, because there's much you can gain from that. The fifth foundation is as much meditating as possible. And when I lived in the ashram, the whole process of 7 years, I was meditating 6 hours a day.
Wow.
And I also had 2 children, 1 5, 1 8 years old. They obviously grew in that, but there's a certain amount of care that goes on. And then the sixth is as much Shaktipat, awakening of Kundalini, supporting that as possible. Now, at the end of that 7 years, Muktananda empowered, acknowledged me as liberated, but also empowered me to give Shaktipat to be a vehicle for that awakening. So the mission that he assigned to me was awake as many people as possible.
Mm.
That was my assignment. Okay, and give the Shaktipat. Now, in this setting where it's not just by touch, but it turns out it can be awakened through your eyes. So will use that and actually give a meditation and give Shaktipat through the eyes. That awakens the Kundalini. So that's the 6 foundations, and that's a way of life. I'm really talking about a way of life, not a technique. Okay. Now the 7-fold piece is a little bit more influenced by the Essene approach, and it does have peace with the body, peace with the mind, meditation, peace with the family. I do a lot of work with sacred relations
Yep.
and define, if people so choose, that sacred relation or marriage or however we want to term it, where you commit, is actually a spiritual path. I'm not talking about tantra, where you're talking sexual type things. I am talking about sacred relationships as a spiritual path.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really powerful path, more for people in the West. Okay, so I write a lot about it in my book, Into the Nothing, because there's a lot about it.
Yep.
Relationship it takes us to a certain outer limit of our egoic personality. Then there's the relationship with community, and the relationship is your interface. Like in today's world, we have to be very careful how we're relating, so that we're not undermined spiritually by the outer world. And then there is what I call Old Matakiasin, which is to all my relatives, Native American. So it's the rock people, the living planet. It's the plant people. It's the animal people and the human people in all the cultures. So that's there. And then finally, well, not finally, and then we have what I call spiritual ecology. It's again influenced by Native American, but the way I frame it is that I'm not an environmentalist. I'm one with the living planet. What happens to me happens to the planet. I take care of the planet, I'm taking care of myself. So one with the living planet is a different way of talking about spiritual ecology, being in that oneness. And then finally, one with God. So those are the 7-fold piece. And
That
this is
is
a way of life. This is the key. It's a way of life.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Now you do go into sacred relationships and everything. Now people, again, like normal people, they will harp on twin souls, soulmates, twin flames, things like that. Can you explain what those things are, what the differences are, and what it is that you're actually talking about?
Okay. So in my book, I talk about, well, twin souls is that you as if you're born in the same soul group and you're just reflections of each other. The mistake that twin souls often make, including myself at one point, is to turn that into romantic, because it's very attractive to have somebody the same as you.
Yep.
But it isn't really the best for a long-term relationship, if it turns sexual, and but it's so easy because everybody's in harmony. It's just
Right.
a natural. Okay.
Right.
So I warn against that, okay, a little bit, because twin souls has a value, and you can be twin souls. And I'll just say, you can have, male, female, 2 women, 2 men. Doesn't matter. You still be twin souls.
Yep.
I think that's an important piece. Okay, so now you also have dharma mates. People come together to achieve a certain thing. So my first wife and I were clearly Dharma mates. We raised a family, very loving. We're still connected in those ways. Really care about our kids, even though they're 51 and 48. I mean, but it's still family.
Yep.
That's Dharma mates, okay? And we also were very active politically.
Yep.
In that way. Okay, now we go into soulmates. People have different definitions. I'm going to use more of a Kabbalistic definition. So, soulmates usually are people that come from different worlds, like Shanti's from New Zealand, okay? Different ages.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Right? And different ages.
Yep.
Often. In a sense, different ways of life. But somehow you come together and you amplify your spiritual evolution. You come together to raise each other spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And you're connected at that soul level. So you're part of the soul group.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same as a twin soul. Not the same. Twin souls are identical. You're not identical. And that's what some of the power is. And I talk about the importance of polarity in relationship. That's a good thing.
Yep.
Because you have the positive negative poles attracting each other and giving a certain gift that you don't really necessarily get when you're the same as somebody. So that's what soulmates are about. They have a soul connection. They come together to elevate each other spiritually, and usually, I say, different ages, different cultures on the planet, and so forth. So those are kind of in a sense, categories that we would use.
Yeah. Now, when you met, you knew your wife, your second wife, previously.
Yeah.
And
a teacher.
right, so she's a yoga teacher. You knew her and everything. Now she had a reading, right? Like a tarot reading or something.
Good memory. Yes, she had a reading when she was 21 that she would meet a Taurus, a blue-eyed Taurus. That's me. Okay?
That's right. Right.
And she didn't know what that meant. And then later she had another reading. Again, at that point we knew each other. We knew each other from 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We didn't get really connected, more beyond teachers. She's my teacher in that way until 2000. But we knew each other for 12 years.
Yeah.
But then when we reconnected 5 years after the divorce, that's a different ballgame. So there was a gap of 5 years when we didn't, I didn't even know where she was. And I was in a conference in San Jose and I said, "Hey, Shanti, you still my yoga teacher?" And we came over and we just fell in love, because it was right, because you have to keep
that was the time.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now, guys, if you're listening on our Anchor FM venue, any one of the Anchor FM venues, please go over to our YouTube channel, the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. Watch the video. You can see the book. The book is in the corner there, Into the Nothing, with Gabriel Cousens M.D. And you can get it here in www.intothenothingbbook.com. There are many.
Or they can get it at drcousens.com or treeoflife.mn.co.
Right. So there's a lot of web pages and things that I'm putting up on the screen. Mama D always puts them in our chats that you can directly hit the link and you will be connected there. But there's so many ways to see him and connect with him, and trust me, this is something you're not going to want to stop reading once you start reading, because it's fascinating life. What is it? You're muted.
But
I'm
before we
really good at that, muting myself and then talking.
Yep.
Check your pictures.
My picture. What pictures?
Go into the brand overlays. I haven't been paying attention to
Oh, there he is.
camera, but I've been paying attention to my
Yeah,
technical work.
I did use this picture in the video,
There's
and I know, huh? We could keep you up like this and just
Yeah,
be over
yeah.
here. So now you're talking with us. Now your picture is actually on the screen.
That's great. Before we end, I don't know how our timing is. I would like to share a blessing, if I could, which is
Yes.
the merging of the heavens and earth. It's very shamanic in that way, and also the heart and the mind. Here it goes. Shimiku kudusha prihu ushinate bi ilo or imalaya shimyuki belovke. Biyadashlam Hashem Kozriel Kolam Amin.
Amen.
And just feel that merging of the heart and the mind, of the heavens and the earth, because it's all happening within us. And as you go forth into the world, may everyone be blessed that you remember the truth of who you are, that enlightened soul, that light of the divine. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, that's a nice picture, Shanti.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you too. You two look. I mean,
They're so adorable
what
together.
a powerful couple. You can just see the energy coming off of you two. You really can, and also with the other pictures. Mama, can you find the picture with her sitting on the yoga?
Still looking.
Right. Oh, it's amazing. It is in the book.
I know.
So, but really, really cool. Well, let's see. I know we our timing is off. I'm not sure because we started late. Like what we
I can go longer.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, yeah, this is a question I wanted to ask you about. You were talking about your first wife and the children and everything else. Now, how difficult is that one on having the family and still having to raise a family? Like, how did you make money in order to do all these things and follow the path that you were doing and going to, say, like, India and whatnot while having a family? How did you afford all this?
Well, we didn't live very extravagantly. We lived simply. And I worked as a doctor, and I could, didn't have to work full time to make enough money to serve my purpose. Now,
Okay.
at the end of the 7 years, we had zero money, okay, but it didn't matter because, as I say in the book, the real gold is a spiritual awakening. What does money mean? So our value system wasn't around money, if you get what I'm saying. It was like make enough money to pay the bills and take care of the kids, and that's it. So we never, and you create enough time that when you have that attitude,
Right.
it's
And
not
now,
accumulate.
yeah. So it's like you don't really need all that stuff. And there it is. There's that picture. I just love this picture. I don't know what it is about this picture.
Shanti loves the picture too.
Oh, she's so cute. She's got that smile to die for. But you guys are like you're
That
perfect.
takes strength on both parts.
Yeah, exactly. You just totally balance each other out completely and totally.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
well,
pretty amazing stuff. But the family thing now, are the kids as involved as you are? Do they follow your teachings, or are they their own beings? Do they, what is it that they believe in?
Well, we raise our kids to be very independent.
Mm-hmm.
How
And
old
that's
are they now?
48, 50 something.
Babies.
yeah. And so they have their own lives. My son is teaches martial arts.
Yes.
Okay, my daughter is, well, things have been shut down, but production stage manager on Broadway, and she uh, designs basically stage managing type situations since Broadway is no longer existing,
Right.
you know. So
Phenomenal.
that's kind of they do their own thing. We're close. Do they agree? Roughly everybody is in agreement. I'll put it that way, but they're not necessarily intensely on a spiritual path, except that it's a good path. It's a, and they're unique in their own ways.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now I'm gonna jump. I know I've jumped all over the place with you
And you're
today, and
not.
I have. And I'm gonna jump all the way into outside of Berlin in concentration camps. And you went there and visited there, and you were doing ceremonies to release the souls there. Um, Now I want you to describe what that was like. Um, I wholeheartedly, I don't know, just being empathic, I don't know how I would handle being there, even though I can ground and shield so much. I mean, the energy from those places are just through the roof, and I don't know if I could handle it. But the descriptions and what you did when you were there was really profound. It really hit a big place with me, and I want to know, was it the Jewish background or the soul's background? What is it that drew you there to do that?
Well, in my lifetime, 70 members of my family were killed in the Holocaust. In my
Wow.
lifetime. So it's possible that some of the souls we rescued were family members. It's not clear where everything was.
Mm,
Um, so I went there with some of that energy. I also really felt it was important that these were what I call seven darkness chakras, the main concentration camp. So we went to a variety of ones
mhm.
and actually did the ceremony in several of the camps, concentration camps. So when we first began releasing souls, not there, but demons started coming out of the ground. I
Right,
mean,
Yeah.
demons. And
right.
nobody, only one other person would go with me. And, initially. And so we were cleaning up the darkness chakras.
Mm.
Think that way. Because they were holding such demonic energy.
They certainly do. They do. They keep those poor souls down.
So two things happened. We were releasing and banishing the demons. And then a ceremony where we created a column of light where the souls could ascend.
Yeah.
Okay, and we were doing that at the different concentration camps. And people could see by the time we reached Auschwitz, there are people hearing about it and beginning to join us. And one person I actually knew from Santa Rosa, he had been there. He had escaped from the camp Auschwitz when he was 13.
Wow.
And he was trying to connect with his mother and sister. And he literally saw them, because you could see the forms, okay? He literally saw them go up in the column of light that we created.
Wow.
Nice.
So,
What a great feeling. What a great accomplishment. I mean, if you only accomplished one thing in your life, that would be like such a crowning glory. But that's just one in the crown for you, you know?
remember, I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm just,
I know, but to me you are.
I
To
don't think
you, you're
about it.
not. To me, you are.
Well, we would like
So
to enjoy
we,
life just as much as you have.
I know. I would like
that's
to
the
enjoy
key.
life.
Mama D, that's the key. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Even in the concentration camp. And it's pretty wild, okay? The souls are going up and you got all these different energies and demons, and it's like, wow, what a
Yeah,
trip this is.
yeah.
We also released it at Blood Island.
Yeah.
which is where Native Americans had been massacred.
Yes.
And that was very interesting because, again, the vortex happened and you could see the people going up. And then one of the people who's with me, there's a little girl who had been killed, and she kept wanting to go towards the sky. It was like maybe he was there previously. But we had to convince her, you got to go this way, you got to go up.
Mm.
So, because remember, when you have this kind of thing, the souls will get lost.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 They're literally
Yeah.
lost.
Yep.
And with these vortexes we create is a vehicle to literally draw them in. Now, what happened? I'm bringing this as a teaching principle here. There were maybe, I think it was 240 people who massacred, but there were at least 1,500 people that were brought up into the column because the whole area, different Native Americans had been killed by the cavalry or whatever. So
Yep.
they all, from the whole area, went up.
Yep.
And the other thing is, 2 white horses came.
That's
I
amazing.
It was like, what are they? But my totem is yellow horse. Okay,
Yep.
so I said, what are these horses doing? And then they came, then they left together, just wild horses. But
Wow.
what I'm saying is um,
Strong
we,
spiritual stuff.
yeah, let's just put it that way. And so we do that, and there's lots of things that are done that I don't talk about too much in the book, like people get, and about these things, people get invaded and demons and that, So I had the opportunity to learn from some masters in some of these things in the 70s.
Yeah. That was
So,
how you were releasing spirits was the first way that I learned how to cross spirits over because I do paranormal work,
right,
and with helping people and try to either, make the spirit and the living commune and get along, but that's not always the case. One or the other might have to go, and sometimes the spirit doesn't want to go, or is afraid to go, and there's various ways on making them go. But the first way that I learned how to do that was to visualize the column of light, and make that vortex in the center of the room and say go to it and be drawn
right,
up in it, and that was the first way. But then I learned with working with a psychic medium and a channeler that sometimes it varies with the entity, not dealing with the masses of
Mhm.
like you were, where you're making this giant vortex, and the people will go as a whole, they will go as a community, they will go.
Yeah.
I've done one thing like that where an evil spirit was just like holding these souls down, and man, that was like, wow, what a thing. I have it all on tape too, like you hear them leaving, and there was a southern girl, and she was like, "We're free, Julia." She's calling another one, and you hear them going away. The voices go like they're leaving the scene, and it's really amazing. But the psychic told me about like little girls, or maybe even feeble-minded. Maybe they want to take a boat. They don't want to go into a column of light. Maybe they want to sail into the ocean. Maybe they want to fly up onto a kite or a balloon or whatever, a hot air balloon. So it sometimes it's that they're not always the same, for them to leave.
Right.
But
Like
it's
that little girl didn't want to do it like with everybody else in her tribe, but
yeah,
we had to convince her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we run across that a lot, and it's exactly how it is. Exactly, Mama. You do know that you're still muted, right? Okay. Because she looks like she wants to say something.
I have two pictures coming up. There's one in the book that I would like you to tell people who this one is. Here we go.
Mm. Look how cute you were.
Still
You are.
is.
You are. But I mean, like that look on your face. That was a
Who's
yogi,
this
right?
gentleman?
I'm not seeing anyone yet.
Okay. picture should be right in front of our faces where you can't see us anymore.
I can see you, but usually the picture comes right in the middle, right below the two of you.
G, can you see it?
I can see it. Hold on, let me maybe if I put it up. All right, you're
Oh,
sitting.
that's Swami Prakashananda. He was one of my two spiritual teachers or gurus. Um, I would come at night, see those steps, I would sleep on those steps, and then in the morning, I would greet him.
Okay.
He's no longer in his body. So actually, where he's sitting, I think
Mhm.
he just greeted me, and I usually slept kind of in the middle step where his feet were.
Wow.
Because
You know,
when I was zipping through the pictures to try and get them to come up to I had to stop on this one because I got like major vibrations on that one. So I
well,
had to know who he was.
he's a liberated, very high being, very high being,
Yeah.
very wonderful being. He was like the divine mother. You know?
Yeah. But those things always come with something. And this was your wedding.
No, no, not my wedding. I was doing a wedding. The
Oh, you were
couple
doing a wedding. Oh, I
that
thought this was your.
just to the right of me,
Okay.
the name's Libby from Australia, and we were marrying them.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And then this right here.
There's
Um,
Dennis.
Dennis Banks. Yeah.
yep. This is
So,
it's pretty powerful again. You can again feel energy.
yeah, yeah. So we had just led a march across America with Native Americans, uh, helping people wake up to that you can heal the diabetes and it's not a death sentence or that you're going to get amputated. So we led a march, and we were then in Washington, D.C.
Amazing, amazing. And these are a bunch of your books. But
Yes.
the would if anybody was to get, they could only get one of your books. What would you suggest?
I would suggest Into the Nothing because it kind of gives the total picture.
Of
And it
that?
was meant to be a spiritual inspiration for people to
Sure is.
follow that message, follow that divine voice,
Yeah.
trust in what's coming through. And whatever comes to you, know it's always for your benefit.
Yep.
Yes.
There's no victim here. Everything that happens to your life is to elevate you spiritually. And that's what I've done in my life. And it's like, let's take this attitude towards life, and it makes a
The other
difference.
one. She's so cute. She
Right.
is just so adorable. So again, if you're listening on audio only, please go over to the YouTube channel, watch it on replay. You get to see the pictures, see the book covers, and everything else that we're putting up there. So pretty amazing. All right, now you had several interactions that imbued you with the energetic of universal love. And then like even putting that in there, like the walking between the multi dimensions and everything. Now, how is love such a huge part of all of that? How does that connect everything?
Well, love is the fabric, in a sense, of the universe. We have peace and love are like the fabrics of the universe. So that's how love connects. And there's obviously personal love, but there's the universal love where
Yeah.
you're feeling your oneness and your harmony. And that brings you to kind of the bigger piece.
Awesome.
Okay. I have one question, and it's an important one because it's something that I always, when people say to me, if you could eliminate one thing in this world, what would it be? And I always say fear. And one of the questions is, you don't experience fear. Why is that?
That is a very perceptive question. Okay. I don't experience fear because there is no death for the self. The body can die, consciousness, your mind can be dispersed, but there is no death for the truth of who you are. So there's nothing to fear.
Oh, I don't fear death. That's one thing. A lot of people go, oh, I'm afraid to die. I don't fear death. I know that for me, that it's just another place that I'm going, that I'm either going to mess with people or people going to mess with me. But I have fear. I think fear is a good thing in certain extents, but fear of the unknown. So many people are afraid, especially nowadays. You're afraid of what happens if, and who is this, and what do they, and why, what, when, where, why. And there's so many fears. I wish people could just stop and just accept, because I'm the type of person who will find the ray of sunshine in each cloud. You know,
That's
you
right.
give me a bad situation, I will find the goodness in it. And I think that there's so many people, like biggest thing was, you know, when you're walking down the street, you see a bunch of young kids walk. Most women will like hang on to their purse. I'm like, why? That means you're putting something negative into people that you don't even know. They could be laughing, joking, and singing for all you know. They could just be coming from a church meeting, no matter what color they would be or what nationality that they are. Why do people feel like that? Why can't, sorry, on a rampage.
So your question
The
is good.
negative.
So the key is that whatever God does is for the best. So I'm not in fear of life because I know it's to my advantage to
Mm-hmm.
elevate myself spiritually. I know that I'm not the body, so I don't exactly have fear about that.
Yeah.
And basically, what I learned, having faced death when I was 1 years old with the TB, is there really is no death for the self. So if you understand that the soul's immortal,
Hmm.
there's nothing to lose here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, a big part of it for me. I know people are gripped by fear today, and it's
Yeah.
like, what are you afraid of? You can't lose what you never had. We
Yeah.
don't have this body. We don't have this mind. We have this soul that's eternal. It
Yeah.
neither dies, it neither gets reborn in a sense. We're the eternal light. So that's my answer, really, in obviously deep way, is that what is there to fear? It's all whatever's happening is for the best.
Absolutely.
That's the answer. But it was a very perceptive question. Yeah, it's not like I think, oh, I'm being fearless or I'm being courageous. No, I don't even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm just flowing. Okay. I'm really not thinking I need some courage or I'm afraid, I need to overcome my fear. That's not a consideration. It's just, I'm at one with the universe. We're all in oneness.
Yeah.
There's no problem here.
There isn't one if you do it. Now, how can people do this? Like, how can they work directly with you one on one, or groups, or how can people?
There's a few ways. There's right now in the transitions of all that's going on. I'm teaching really two courses: spiritual fasting. One of those is coming up April 26th, 7 days juice fast. And then after that is what I call 0 point, which is you learn that the personality is a case of mistaken identity. So you don't identify with your thoughts and all your ideas. You know that you exist prior to the mind. And it's a course that helps you get there, teaching the technique. So those are things, and right now it's through the internet. People could just go to treeoflife.mn.co or drcousins.com. That's an easy one. And tune into those. As we reorganize, I also, if people join the community, I have Alive and Liberated with Dr. Gabriel on Thursday nights for an hour and a half. And then there's just lots of videos and things, as you mentioned, at the treeoflife.mn.co community. Later, there'll be more things, but the two big things are the spiritual fast, which are international, and the 0 point, which is also international.
So for those of us who are in Eastern Standard Time, your time zone is right now roughly 6 hours ahead of us. So is it in your time zone? Your You had
No,
said there was.
during these programs, I'm in multiple time zones, so I may be leading meditation
Mhm.
literally at 10 o'clock at night for people, one thing, and then for other people, for me, 5:30 in the morning. So
Right.
I teach in the different time zones, so there's a little
Okay.
redundancy. Does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he is in Israel. So,
Yes.
that's where his base of operation is.
Right.
And so he is going out from there. But again, check out all the social media sites. Check out all the books. Get this book, honestly,
Yeah.
because I mean, yeah, it's a hefty book, but I'm telling you, it
It's
is
worth
so
the read.
packed. You just will not want to stop reading it
And
because your life is
it's,
just utterly fascinating. It
it's meant
really
to
is.
inspire people spiritually. That's like a
Absolutely.
spiritual autobiography. It was like, and that is what's happening. So for yourself, it's an inspiration. That's the key. So the bio autobiography part is just a way of introducing the teachings, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
I I will be putting all the links in both Facebook and YouTube. So anybody who's listening, once you go there, you can just click on the links. Just right now, I'm having internet issues. I live in the boonies.
Yeah, this has just been one of those days for like little glitches and whatnot. I would have definitely loved to have seen your face during this. Perhaps
Yep.
we can have you back again at some other point.
I'd be
There,
happy to play with both of you again. You're really fun. You're,
Good.
you're fascinating. Again, I was like a little starstruck. I really have been, and
Yeah,
that
because
doesn't happen.
she made me behave myself.
It doesn't happen often. It doesn't, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this here is a man that walks the walk, and
Yeah, he walks his talk and just he lives it. He is
he
it. You are
yeah,
what you speak. You don't just
and it's
like there are people out there who says do this and don't actually live it. You
right,
live it.
but he spanned
Mhm.
religions and cultures and humanitarianism and everything, and it just comes out like he says
Yeah.
he's having fun. He's just
Yeah.
doing him, you know,
Yeah.
that's right.
and
That's the key point, and that's the message for everybody. We say, "Oh, be myself." I mean, really express yourself, and
Mhm.
that way you become alive. And if you're ready, liberated. Okay.
become liberated, right?
But
And you didn't believe it when your Swami kept telling you you were liberated. You wouldn't believe it.
well, it's true. I didn't, but that's very. It was funny. It literally took me a month before I believed him. It's very persistent.
Yeah. And you could tell you have that inquisitive look, like that one picture that she put up here. This one, the inquisitive look that you know you know that you want to learn stuff. Oh, please explain what was happening in this photo here. What you were talking about.
Well, this is at the Tree of Life land, in our community in Patagonia, Arizona. And we're up in the mountains, and I'm teaching. And there's a lot of lightning going around, and it was a perfect picture that caught that lightning.
Yeah.
God.
But we
Yeah.
would do this. I'm doing this like four nights a week. We're in that circle. Really, 5 nights a week. We're in the circle. That's right before we go meditate. See
Wow.
that little temple back there, which we
Yeah.
built by hand, straw bale temple,
Wow.
and a pyramid roof, copper roof. And so we would talk and have what we call satsang, spiritual questions and answers, and then we'd go meditate. And sometimes we'd meditate first and then also come out.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
now this one here is this a sweat lodge behind you?
Yes.
Okay, now that looks like it's made properly. It's up higher. That one that we were
Yeah.
talking about before, it was like really low and like really packed with a lot of stuff on top. I just don't think it was done right.
This
But
is the classic. It's a 16 tree branches or trees, and it makes a certain kind of matrix picture right in the very center of it where they all cross.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
each of the little things, we put tobacco at the bottom. So there's the wood is bent over, but you put the blessed tobacco in, then you put the wood in, then you bend it over. So it's a classic Lakota lodge. Because everything I did with Lakota, we take an oath, you have to follow our ways. If you're going to do this, you have to do exactly. So my lodge, it's exactly the way I was taught.
Yeah.
And that's it. I honored it. We didn't just do our own New Age thing or something like that. Because
I'm sure I can connect with you so much. It's like you're the overachiever like me. It's like
But he has more fun than you do.
You're gonna do it 100%, or you're just not gonna do it. That's it.
Well, it's an honor thing. You see how people misabuse the energies. People get killed. It's like, well, this is not a joke.
Yeah.
So I take these things seriously in a way because you're supposed to honor things.
Yes.
That are supposed to be honored.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's cultural imperialism.
Yep.
That's not acceptable.
Well, I'm honored to have you in the Fox Den today.
Same here.
And I'm glad we, I mean, I do wish we could see your face, but I am just, glad that you're here with us.
Hey, we got the voice. You can hear, and the thing is, and I always say, is you can hear his smile. You can hear that the smile doesn't, it doesn't just come to the face, to the lips, it goes into his eyes. And now that was like, that's, I'm sure.
Yeah. So put that there. Like,
there you go. Look at that.
Look at the energy, coming from him, and in every aspect of his life, of every aspect. Look at the energy between these two. You can almost see like the auras coming off the screen, even in black and white. You can see the colors. You know what I mean? It's just, it's powerful stuff. Very powerful. I thank you so much for spending some time with us here today.
Great. I mean, you two are lots of fun, and it was good to play.
Oh, thanks. Yes, come play in the den again.
Yes. Bring more butterflies.
We'll do that. We just have to figure out what happened here. Next time
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm sure Olga's around to figure it out. She's
awesome.
She's my assistant. She's almost 7 months pregnant. So.
Oh well, that could be the
No, that's only 7 months. She's still too early.
But we're no, she's not delivering right now.
No.
So I'll make sure because she's really good at this.
Okay. Fabulous. All right. Well, I am going to play our exit video, and then everybody that sees this, please share this. Please share this information. Please, just look into Gabriel Cousens because he's an amazing man. There's not many people, no one that I know that is like him. None. But just an amazing journey. What he's doing, what he's preaching, what he's teaching, how he's living is amazing. And we will see you tomorrow night. So this will be our third show this week. Tomorrow night at regular time, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Rebecca Dawson right here in the Fox Den. So thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, good night. Thank you.
Enjoy the day.
There was a blessing.
Blessings and love to everyone. Really fun with the both of you. May you both be blessed that you continue to do such good work and inspire people into the higher understandings. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Oh, love you. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another episode in the Fox Den. We're here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our Anchor venues. We would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and please subscribe, share, and definitely hit the notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.